Predict, pick, and prevail in your fantasy football leagues with Nick Giacobbe and Nick Cap. From breakouts to busts, superstars to sleepers, these are the guys that will help you achieve fantasy glory. This is the PrimeTime Fantasy Podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to Week 18. Welcome to your Fantasy Championship weekends, and welcome to the PrimeTime Fantasy Podcast, where we give you our predictions, our picks, with the hopes that we help you prevail throughout Week 18 in your Fantasy Football Championships and the rest of the 2022 Fantasy Football season. I guess not the rest because it's over. I'm your host, Nick Giacobbe. Normally, I am joined by Nick Cap. Unfortunately, he could not make it today. He did have a little scheduling conflict that he wasn't aware of until about Wednesday. So nothing we could kind of do on that, but that's okay. We're going to have a lot of fun. We'll answer some questions. Won't be a super long show just because it's me. And I know a lot of people aren't playing in Week 18. I know I personally have nothing to play for fantasy-wise. I'm just watching today's games as a football fan. I'll be rooting for my Seahawks. I'll be rooting for the Lions tonight. Because I want the Seahawks to make the playoffs, and I also don't want the Packers to make the playoffs. So, yeah. So, I'm just watching as a football fan today, and that's okay. I'm sure a lot of you guys are. But for now, I'm going to answer any fantasy questions that you may have or don't have. I'll talk some football. I'll talk about injuries. I'll talk about everything that you may need to know going into Week 18 if you are still playing. And I call you guys psychos for playing Week 18 because I personally – we're not playing fantasy leagues that go to Week 18. So many injuries, so many backup quarterbacks, so many situations where, it's just not beneficial to your team, and it'd be more of a headache than enjoyment out of fantasy football. So with that said, I'll go through the plugs. I'll answer any questions that we have. I'll go through the injuries that I have here. This show may only last 10 minutes, maybe 30 minutes. It's more so to answer your questions to make sure that you're prepared for Week 18. So here we go. If this is your first time listening to us, thank you so much. During an NFL season, which is now over, unfortunately, we do the show every Sunday, normally about 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. You can watch the show on YouTube or Facebook at PrimeTime Fantasy Podcast. Twitter is PrimeTimeFFPod. If you're on Twitter, we will have, normally my co-host Nick will be in the Twitter chat looking for questions, but unfortunately, because of the way that our StreamYard, which is the service we use to stream, works, our Twitter questions don't go directly to our feed. So if you want our question, your question going directly to our feed, Facebook and YouTube are the best places to go. We then do about 4 shows during the week, again, during the NFL season. We do Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. So those shows can be found on all audio streaming platforms, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or Anchor. Anywhere where you find a podcast, you can find us, the PrimeTime Fantasy Podcast. If you're on iTunes or Spotify, please give us a 5-star rating and a review. We'd really appreciate that. If you'd rather watch and listen to the show every day, go to our YouTube channel, PrimeTime Fantasy Podcast. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Make sure you drop a like on any video that you're watching. If you're watching this video live and you're on Facebook or YouTube, please drop a like. If you're watching on Twitter, please drop a retweet and a like. We'd appreciate that as well. During the off season, we're going to be doing about 1 show a week. The day that it releases is going to depend on what's going on, our schedules and stuff like that. But this coming week, we're going to record Monday night, and then on Tuesday, we will release an episode. The episode's going to feature our playoff bracket, predicting what team's going to make the Super Bowl, and then we're going to talk about playoff fantasy formats, whether you're playing like a best ball kind of draft format, whether you're playing in a league where you could pick, any player you want. We're going to talk about playoff fantasy strategies if anybody does that. I have a lot of fun with it. I won my playoff league last year, so it's a lot of fun. We'll talk about that on Tuesday. Keep connecting with us on social media, PrimeTimeFFPod on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook and YouTube. PrimeTime Fantasy Podcast. Make sure you don't miss out on that stuff. Bear with me for 1 second. Alrighty, we got our first question of the morning from Stanley. Good morning, Stanley. Thank you for joining. Should I play Hurts or Goff? So, Stanley, this is where you kind of have the advantage here. Hurts will be playing at 4 o'clock, Goff at 8 o'clock. If Jalen Hurts is playing, I say you got to play him. If they're starting him, if they're making him active, I don't think he just plays one series and leaves. I think he plays, at least a half. I know the Giants probably rest a good chunk of their starters. And when Jalen Hurts is playing, he's the best quarterback in fantasy football. So I think you definitely start Jalen Hurts. I know Jared Goff will have something to play for. He's at a pretty decent season. The Packers have a tougher defense. They're playing at Lambeau. Packers are also the 10th toughest team against quarterbacks. So I'd wait until about 4 o'clock, Stanley, or I guess 3 o'clock when the inactives are announced. If Jalen Hurts is active, if they say that Jalen Hurts is starting, you play Jalen Hurts. If he's not, then you play Jared Goff. All right, like I said, guys, this will be about a shorter show. I will answer as many questions, as I get. But for now, I'll talk about any of the news of the week, any injuries. So let's start off with the San Francisco 49ers, who have a game today against the Arizona Cardinals. So Elijah Mitchell's going to play first time since week, I think, 13 maybe. I'll get the week for you guys right now. But Elijah Mitchell has not played football after being on the IR for a second stint at least. But when he did play with Christian McCaffrey, they split time. It ate into McCaffrey's targets and carries, etc. So if you have Christian McCaffrey and you're counting on him for a Christian McCaffrey day today, got some bad news for you. Elijah Mitchell's probably going to take a bulk of that workload. Kyle Shanahan's smart. He knows that he shouldn't risk his players getting injured, I think. So I don't think McCaffrey's going to get a lot of reps today. I think McCaffrey gets a couple reps, but I think Elijah Mitchell gets the bulk of that. Also, Deebo Samuel is slated to play for his first time, I believe, since week 12, coming off the IR with the ankle injury, the knee injury, whatever that was, So, good for him. He's going to get his feet wet. I think he's too talented to bench. So if you do have Deebo, and again, you're playing in week 18, I think you could play him, but also temper your expectations. I'm sure he'll be on some kind of snap count, but they're going to want to get his feet wet. They don't want his first game back to be, in the playoffs next week. So they're going to try to get him football reps in. Here's some players that are out. James Conner for the Cardinals, who's been, he's going to be on our all-bust team. I would have told you not to play him anyway, but, he's been pretty productive these last 8 weeks or so. Justin Fields has been a top 5 quarterback in fantasy football since like week 6. He's out. Probably a smart decision by the Bears, who will probably end up having the first overall pick by the end of the day. Tua Tagovailoa with a concussion, his second or third concussion of the year, which is pretty bad. And then Brian Robinson for the Commanders. I don't know who's starting a running back for the Commanders. No matter who it is, I wouldn't play them. Brian Robinson would have been on our all-bust team. He's out, and so is Antonio Gibson. So that's rough for the Commanders. Here's some backup starters. So speaking of the Commanders, Sam Howell's going to start for the Commanders. Not Heineke, not Wentz, Sam Howell. That's rough. If I'm Terry McLaurin, I am asking for a trade tomorrow. But this is going to be rough for those wide receivers. I don't think I want to play any Commander today if you can, avoid playing a Commander today. Tyler Huntley is going to start for the Ravens, possibly, but he's still dealing with an injury. So Harbaugh's not going to announce who is starting for the Ravens until probably about warm-up. So it's either going to be Tyler Huntley or their third string, Anthony Brown. So, I wouldn't recommend playing any Ravens wide receiver at all for the last 6-7 weeks, but I think Mark Andrews is a real question mark, and I think you may have a better option for Mark Andrews. So if you have questions about your tight end and you have Mark Andrews, maybe somebody that's on your waiver wire, I would go out there and try to look for somebody else than Mark Andrews. Nathan Peterman will be starting for the Chicago Bears in a game that's pretty much meaningless against the Minnesota Vikings. I saw that the Vikings may rest some of their starters or give them a little bit of reps and then put them, on the bench. So I don't think the Bears are going to win this game. I think Nathan Peterman's a pretty bad quarterback. This obviously doesn't help Cole Kmet, Chase Claypool, so you wouldn't be playing them. This also hurts David Montgomery due to game script. So, yeah, that's going to be a tough start. Sam Ehlinger is starting for the Colts on what seems like, I guess, the 4th or 5th quarterback change of the season. That's pretty bad for Michael Pittman. I think Pittman's very benchable. We have him on our all-bust team this week, so I think he's very, very benchable. Skylar Thompson starting for the Dolphins, so I would bench Jalen Waddle. I think Tyreek Hill is too talented to bench, but Jalen Waddle, he averages under 10 fantasy points without Tua as his quarterback, so I think you got to bench. Waddle today. Davis Webb is likely to start for the Giants. I haven't officially announced this yet, but I don't think guys like Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley are going to get a lot of reps today. There's no reason to. Their seed is locked up. They have nothing to play for unless they want to play spoiler for the Eagles, but I think they'd be pretty heartbroken if they put Saquon Barkley on the field and he tears his ACL in the second or third play. Like there's no reason to. So I think they're going to sit. For the Eagles, they have not announced their starting quarterback yet. It's either going to be Jalen Hurts, who's dealing with an injury, or Gardner Minshew. We won't know that until the inactive list is released, probably around 11 a.m. And lastly, Cool Joe Flacco will be starting for the Jets. That's pretty bad news for Garrett Wilson, another Jets receiver. So another one, I would just bench. What's official, Stanley? Which one's official? Hurts is in. Did Schefter just tweet that out? Let me see. Because I didn't see that when I was putting in my notes about 10 minutes ago. Let me see if I can find this official. Let's see. Let's see if I can find it. Stanley, where did you see that? I'm just curious. Let's see. 'Cause I'm not seeing it official or not. Yeah, I don't see that official anywhere yet, Stanley. So I think he's gonna play, but until I see like Adam Schefter tweeted out or something, I can't really trust it. You heard it out of Philly? Okay, well, I think he's gonna play, but I'm labeling him as questionable at the moment until I at least see him on the field. So yeah, I wouldn't play Jets today. Avoid your Jets, like I've kind of been saying for most of the season. The Vikings are expected to eventually rest their starters. I saw basically a report that the backups are going to get reps. I can't tell you how many, so it's tough for me to tell you which Vikings to sit and which to play. Maybe I bench Kirk Cousins because, a quarterback I think is really tough to get, enough points in like a quarter of football. But Justin Jefferson, I think you play. Dalvin Cook, I think you play. Nick doesn't like TJ Hockenson this week, but I think he's an okay start. And the Giants, like I said, are also likely to sit their starters. So, I'll talk about a couple other teams that really probably could end up benching their starters. I'll pull up the NFL schedule right now. Buccaneers, Falcons, they said the Bucs aren't resting their starters, but I see no reason why they should play more than a quarter of football. So, like, if you're Tom Brady or Mike Evans, like, I don't know why they would play more than a quarter of football. Bills, Patriots, I think the Chiefs are already locked up the 1 seed. The Bills can't even get the 1 seed anymore. So if you're the Bills, the reason why the Bills would play, I think, a good chunk of this game is because they didn't really play Monday. You don't want to take 2 weeks off. So that's the one favorable situation coming for Bills players. But with that said, again, they have nothing to play for either. So that's a little worrisome. They're going up against the Patriots, who do have something to play for, though. So play all your Patriots. The Patriots right now are in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or they're in the 7th seed. So right now they have the last playoff spot. They're tied with Miami. So I believe they're win and get in. I think the Steelers need the Patriots and the Dolphins to lose, which is very possible. So Patriots players are good to go. You could play them. Vikings and Bears. The Vikings have some seeding opportunity here, but I don't think they have a lot, which is why they would rest their starters. Right now, they would be the 3 seed basically no matter what. They would need San Francisco to lose a game, and they would have to win. I don't think San Francisco loses, but I think if they win and San Francisco loses, they would jump San Francisco at least. But I don't see San Francisco losing. The Vikings do play at 1 o'clock though, so they at least need to win their game. So that's good for us at least. Ravens, Bengals. The Bengals are in the same situation as the The Bengals have to win the division and get home field. So the Bengals do have something to play for sure. Same with the Ravens, but you're missing a quarterback, which is pretty rough. So I think the only Raven I'd want to start is J.K. Dobbins, and I don't love it. Texans, Colts, they each have nothing to play for. I think they'll all play their guys, but again, nothing to play for, so that's not a game you really want to touch. Jets, Dolphins, nothing to play for the Jets. They should really be playing for a draft pick. Dolphins are playing for the playoff spots. I think, they're all good. They're going to play all your starters, but you have Skylar Thompson starting at quarterback. So the only one that I'd want to play is Tyreek Hill. Panthers, Saints, absolutely nothing. Well, actually, they both got eliminated. Nothing to play for the Panthers and Saints. So they'll be playing for a draft pick spot. I think they're right next to each other. Browns Steelers. The Steelers, like I said, are playing for a playoff spot, so you could play all your Steelers. I think Najee Harris is a really good play this week. Fryermuth's a really solid play. So is George Pickens. Deontay Johnson's an okay play. As for the Brownies, they have nothing to play for. I know Jadeveon Clowney made a comment, and he's not playing, but I think you can play Amari Cooper because I think Deshaun Watson is still trying to get his groove back in football, and he's not going to sit. So Watson will get a couple reps out there. So he had a good game last week. Okay. Next game, Chargers and Broncos. This is at 4:00. So the Chargers right now are the let's see what we got here. They are the 5 seed. So the Chargers, I believe, if they win, they get the 5 seed no matter what. If Baltimore loses, to the Bengals, they'd be 10-7, and the Chargers don't need to win their game to get the 5 seed. 5 seed's going to play Jacksonville. 6 seed would play Cincinnati. I would rather play Jacksonville, but both of those teams are pretty hot. So the Chargers technically don't need to start their players, and that's a really tough situation to be in. I think they're going to get a couple reps in, but I think they're a team kind of like Minnesota where they could end up benching their starters after a quarter of football. And the Broncos have been playing competitive football these last few weeks. Against Kansas City last week, they put up 24. They put up, they beat Arizona a few weeks ago. They put up 24, they put up 28 against Kansas City a couple weeks ago as well. So Broncos are playing competitive football. I can see the Broncos definitely winning this game, but I don't really want to. Chargers are really tough for me. I say you still probably have to play Eckler, but Eckler might be the only one that I would play, honestly. Justin Herbert, I think, might have to hit the bench as well. Okay, Seahawks and the Rams. This could be McVay's last game as the Rams head coach. I think Cam Akers is still a really, really excellent play. The Seahawks have to win to get into the playoffs, and Pete Carroll wants his guys to compete. So DK Metcalf and Lockett are plays. Kenneth Walker's a play. Geno, depending on your quarterback situation, might be a play. The Arizona Cardinals against San Francisco 49ers. The Cardinals are just an injury-depleted team. I think the only player that wants to go play football today is J.J. Watt because it is his, last game ever as a football player unless he unretires. Marquise Brown will be active, but I don't want to play him knowing that David Blow is going to be his quarterback. It's a pretty bad situation. I wouldn't play any running back over there with Connor out. For the 49ers, I'm a little bit worried about Christian McCaffrey because, like I said, if the Niners just have to win this game and they get the 2 seed, and I don't think they're going to lose it. They could use Elijah Mitchell all they want, and I don't think it's going to affect their game plan. So I think Christian McCaffrey's a little bit of a worry. Debo's a good play. I think Kittle will be fine as well. Okay, so Stanley said that Dave Zangaro out of Philly is reporting that Hurts is playing. I don't know who that is, though, so I'm going to look him up. Is he a beat reporter? He's probably a beat reporter or something. So let me just see who this is. Dave Zangaro. He's with NBC Philly. So, okay. If he's reporting that, he's probably right. So yeah, play Hurts then, Stanley. Okay, last game of the 4:00 slate. The Cowboys at the Commanders. Like I said, I don't want to play any Commander today. I'm very worried about all of them. Sam Howell starting. They have no running back. Messy situation for the Commanders. I don't want to play any of them. As for Dallas, I think their spot's going to be pretty much locked up too. I mean, they're still playing for the division technically because if the Eagles lose today and Dallas wins, they do win the division. But I don't think that Philly's going to lose. They are playing at the same time, which is benefit. So that the Dallas has to at least start their starters, but I don't know how long they play for. I would still play Tony Pollard, still play CeeDee Lamb. If you have to play Dak, play Dak. And start Zeke because he always scores a touchdown. And then here's your Sunday Night Football game, the Lions and the Packers. If the Seahawks win, the Lions are eliminated from playoff contention. Dan Campbell's, a guy that really gets his guys to play for him, so I don't think that would affect the Lions from not playing the starters or playing tough. But if you have Lions, you should want the Seahawks to lose so they have a little bit more incentive to play for. Still play DeAndre Swift. Nick likes Jamal Williams a lot, so play him. Play Amon-Ra, Jared Goff, depends on your matchup. As for the Packers, really do love Aaron Rodgers this week. Really do love Christian Watson. Really do like Aaron Jones. So definitely play those 3 guys. I think it's going to be a big show for the Packers. I think it's going to be a big Packers game tonight. I think they're going to win. I think they'll win in dominant fashion. I think the Packers will roll right into the playoffs. You're welcome, Stanley. It was our pleasure helping you this year. Hopefully, you connect with us next year. Like I said, we'll have a lot of content in the off season, so make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on social media. Subscribe. The audio platform. So we'll have content in the off season just about once a week, and then hopefully you connect with us again. Next season for 2023 as well. Alrighty, guys. So I know we're 20 minutes in at this point. Not a lot of questions. Not a lot of you guys playing in Week 18, which is probably smart. I went over all the injury news that I could possibly go over. So with that said, I'm going to wrap it up. If you do have any other questions, go to our Twitter, PrimeTimeFFPod, or maybe our Instagram, PrimeTimeFFPod, or Facebook. I'll answer any injury questions. Thanks, Stanley. We appreciate it. So go to our social media channels. We'll have our graphic posted asking if you have any questions. And if you have them, you could drop them in case you weren't able to check out the live show, and that's totally okay. So for you live viewers, this is the last time you hear from us during the 2022 fantasy season, being live per se. So like I said, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, Primetime Fantasy Podcast. We'll still have content during the offseason once a week. If you want to watch and listen to the show, YouTube is the place to go. If you just want to listen to the show, if you're driving in the car or something, audio streaming platforms, iTunes, Spotify, make sure you subscribe over there. Give us those 5-star ratings and a review. We'll have a good amount of content in our on our social medias, including starting up that TikTok. So Primetime FF Pod on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. Then Facebook and YouTube is Primetime Fantasy Podcast. Thank you for listening this entire season, guys. Thank you for listening today. We appreciate you. Thank you for supporting me and Nick in this journey that we have. We love you guys. Wish you the best of luck today in your fantasy championship. And enjoy the day. Enjoy football. And thank you guys again. We'll talk to you real soon.